Welcome back to another episode of Defend Philly. I'm Vani and along with Louis Coco, we're back. And we're getting ready for game three, of this Flyers Hurricanes series. Flyers are down 2 games. Louis, what are your thoughts?
Um, what's up? Um, yeah, so look, game one, I'm not going to make any excuses for the team for the effort that was put out. I understand and I think there's something to be said for the rest thing, but at the same time, the Flyers had some momentum going and you know, and I don't think that was I'm not even gonna place any blame on that. The Flyers just got shocked. Like that's really what it was, is the Carolina Hurricanes, the Flyers played them really tough in the regular season. Different story in the playoffs. We've been
Playoff
saying
hockey is different.
it's complete. It's almost a different game.
Yeah.
Some may say.
Well, I mean, you
So
look at, sorry to interrupt, but you look at what Briere's saying. Like, Briere was a good playoff player, and he's saying, like, these guys are just, they're tasting it for the first time. Like, they're experiencing this for the first time. They got to learn and they gotta like through experience. There's no other way to explain it. You could have played so many regular seasons, like Risto, but the playoff hockey is just different. Continue.
yeah, it's completely different. So game one, totally shocked. Game two was great. I actually think the Flyers played really well in game two, and I think that's the Flyers. Like the Flyers all season have continued to elevate themselves. I don't think game two was just a fluke. Somebody said, "Well, I saw some people tweet, well, the Hurricanes just had a sloppy game." I don't think so. I think they actually played fairly well. Maybe not exactly to, their standard, but the Carolina Hurricanes are a cup contending team, and actually, I think as far as I saw earlier today on Money Puck, they're the favorite to win the cup. I think I could be wrong, but they're one of the two favorites
Yeah.
to win the cup. So when the Flyers elevated themselves in game two, really had a good showing, basically outplayed them in the third and overtime, and then just couldn't convert. I think that's the Flyers. I think that is actually where the Flyers can get. Well, they got to that level for a whole game. If the Flyers were just flashing, I don't think it would have lasted a whole game. I could be wrong, but I think game two Flyers that showed up are the real Flyers because they adjusted, they made the snappier decisions, and it wasn't perfect. There's a lot that they still need to clean up, and there's a lot that they can really do, but they earned the ability to be playing and comparing themselves against a legit Stanley Cup contender.
Yes.
So I think game three in front of the home crowd, I think the game two, let's call them the game one Flyers and the game two Flyers because it was two different teams.
Yeah.
I think the game two Flyers could show up tonight, but I know we have some injuries that we have to go through that could really hamper some things because it was, they're key players to this team.
Yeah, and like I'm not going to break down game one. I'm going to put that aside for now. And looking just at game two, you look at the way that they came out so hot. They had 2 goals on their first 3 shots. Like this team came out hot. Anderson didn't allow another puck past him for 33 saves. They tr were had the lead until halfway through the third period. This team came out strong. They handed Carolina their first deficit, like first time trailing the entire postseason. And I I like this team, don't get me wrong, but we didn't think the Flyers would be here. We didn't, they may have, but we didn't. We knew
Yeah.
Carolina was going to be here. We were pretty sure. So for them to be able to put up such a good fight, I was happy with the game. It's not the ending they would have wanted. Connect me with the breakaway, I, the end scramble. There are a bunch of things to break down. The lack of challenge on the whatever. There's a lot to break down, but I was happy with the way that team played. But also, and I love to say this with everything in me, this team plays better with Owen Tippett. And hate on him all you want. This team plays better with Owen Tippett. And Owen Tippett was also one of those players that was creating those offensive opportunities. And you look at some of these key players, look at Martone. Martone doesn't have a point in the last 5 games, I think. Like there are people that have come out in this second part of, or in this postseason and kind of frozen. A lot of our offense has kind of frozen. And so that's kind of, you can't really win if you're not, you can win if you're not scoring, but someone's got to score eventually.
Wow.
You got to
Yeah, someone's
score.
gonna score a goal.
Someone's got to score a goal. I mean, and putting that on like Couturier has been amazing, and I stand by
Yeah,
that. He has been incredible this postseason.
without a doubt.
And Drysdale had the other goal the other night, but like you got to keep scoring. You got to keep scoring, and it comes down to there's a lot going on with this team, but I'm very like Tippett's not playing again tonight, and Cates is out for the rest of the series. And so I'm curious to see how this team shows up. Like you said, I mean, I'm hoping for a game 2 performance. It'll be nice to be home. My prediction for this series heading into it was Canes take the first two, Flyers take the second two, Canes close out the series. Um, but we'll see. Let's talk about these injuries. We got some battered up
Yeah, hockey players.
players.
And I heard Ashlyn Sullivan on the midday show talking about Owen Tippett. And this was a couple days ago, and she thought that maybe he would play in game 3 tonight. We obviously know that that's not true. Per Rick Tocchet 6 hours ago, he's been ruled out.
Yeah.
So what Ashlyn said, and I think it's true, if Owen Tippett's not playing in this series right now, there's probably something really wrong. I mean, he's been skating. I know he was,
Yeah.
skating a little bit. I don't know if he skated today. I didn't see or anything, but
What I've heard is he's
um
been practicing, but mostly
yes,
alone.
right.
Like he's getting his
So
own work in.
so that to me makes me think, ugh, like that's not good because we look at guys like Matthew Tkachuk who played through a broken sternum, and I think Brad Marchand played through like broken ribs and a punctured lung. You
Yes.
know what I mean? A couple of years ago. So those guys are playing through injuries like that, then Owen Tippett must be in a really bad spot. Like if he's not playing, and I know, look, and I've had my fair share of ripping Owen Tippett, but he's a tough dude. He's a really tough dude, and he wants to play. There's nothing that Owen Tippett wants to do more than play hockey, and just being around him, you can tell. So for him to now be ruled out a third game, especially your first game at home, that worries me a little bit. Honestly, I'm gonna flip, not flip, but I'm kind of opposite of what you were saying. You think that, well, what you said was that you think this team plays better with Owen Tippett. I agree on that point. I think, especially in the playoffs, he's been fabulous.
Yes.
I know he kind of fell off at the end of the Penguin series, but I think he proved what
He
Owen
proved, yeah.
Tippett really
He proved
is.
what I've been seeing.
Yeah, and in a really big spot. Like he had a good playoff series, until I guess the injuries kind of started popping up and everyone kind of fell off the end of the Penguins series. So it wasn't just him, but he proved that he can be a really impactful player in the playoffs.
But
But I I think Carolina's just so good that he probably wouldn't have made a huge difference anyway in the series. Now I really hope I'm wrong, and we'll never know because now we're entering game 3 and he's not playing. But I really do and now look, maybe he pots the overtime winner. I don't know. Game 1 he wouldn't have made a difference. Game 2, maybe, but in my heart of hearts, I just don't think he was going to be that extra factor. The thing about him is his speed, and that's what Carolina's been killing the Flyers with. They're so fast, but it's speed on top of decisive decision making and control. They're able to control play at high speeds, which Owen Tippett hasn't been the most consistent with that.
fair.
So speed kills, and we saw it with the Jackson Blake goal in game 1, and we've seen it, even in other series in the playoffs, like the Minnesota Colorado series, some of the fastest hockey I've ever watched in my life.
And
So we know that speed kills. And he's the fastest guy on the team, one of the fastest in the NHL.
yes,
It's just he
yes,
doesn't always control the puck
mhm,
because that's the real issue here is
yes,
puck control. When
yes.
you're playing against a team like the Hurricanes, you need to control the puck while being fast. So I don't know if he
Especially
makes a
with
huge
their
difference.
wicked forecheck.
Yeah,
With that,
absolutely.
it's killing Flyers. It really is. It's killing the Flyers. And I hear what you're saying, and I definitely agree. I think that this Carolina team has, if anything, just the experience and the speed. I mean, the forecheck has been ridiculous. The speed, like everything. And to counteract that, like I don't think one player would make a difference in this Flyers team. I agree with you completely with that. But also, I like the opportunities just to get the puck on net. I feel like there's a lot of second guessing and waiting an extra second. We saw it at the end of the Pittsburgh series. There's a lot of the drop pass, and the drop pass then gets interrupted and then intercepted, and then it's over, right? You need to take that first shot. And I think Owen Tippett was good at taking that first shot or setting that up. Because right now, I mean, I have a list here. You look at Konechny, Martone, Michkov, Forrester. Like these are all players that we would expect to rely upon in the postseason, and they have not been putting up the offensive numbers
No.
that we expect from them or to help the Flyers win. And don't get me wrong, I completely agree that this Carolina team, and it goes without saying, this Carolina team is very different than that Penguins team. Very different. We started with this is a challenge, but we can do it, and now we're playing against wow. Like this
Uh,
is the playoffs.
Probably, might like will in my when I did my pre-playoffs bracket, I had them going to the cup.
Yeah, me too.
So like,
Me too.
the Hurricanes are a
Yes.
real legit team.
They're a legit team, and this team is getting experience, and the fact that they were able to play up with them in game 2 is the biggest thing for me because we talked about this. Heading into this season, you and I both said playoffs, maybe fine. If they're even in the race, we'll be happy. They're in the second round. They are fully in the second round, and they are keeping up with one of the top teams. And for me, I'm happy with that. I'm not okay with I'm not okay with giving up or whatever, but I'm excited to see how this team comes out at home because I do not think this is going to be a sweep. I do not think at all. And a lot of people I've talked to, like, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a sweep. I don't think the Flyers are going to pull out the series win, but I mean, I'm excited to see this team tonight, and I'm excited to see how they show up. I mean, it's exciting heading back to the Xfinity Mobile Arena, heading back to home ice. Philly fans are so excited. Yeah, we were talking a little bit off air about the energy. You want to talk about that a little more?
Yeah, I don't have a good feel for this one. I know obviously like the Pittsburgh, there's a rivalry there. It's probably for Flyers fans one of the most hated teams ever. So obviously knew there was going to be juice in the building for the Pittsburgh series. I don't have a good feel for the Carolina series because there's always going to be your outliers. Like there's always going to, I've seen online, like there's been a weird dichotomy, and I don't want to take online as you can't generalize using Twitter because Twitter is just the worst. So there's been a weird online dichotomy of, there's Flyers fans who are just like, I'm happy to be here. And then there's Flyer fans who are like, oh yeah, like we're gonna destroy the Hurricane, blah blah blah. And like look, and then there's a weird contingent of Hurricanes fans who are just like super anti-Philadelphia for whatever reason. And then there's a weird contingent of Carolina fans who are just like, yeah, it's actually really cool you guys are here. Like this is great. So I don't have a good feel for the way the building's gonna be down 0-2 coming back to Philadelphia. Look, like this isn't it's funny. I'm gonna compare this to the Knicks
Oh,
Sixers series. There was a legit fear, and there still is because we haven't seen game 3 at home yet. There's a legit fear that Xfinity Mobile Arena might be 50-50 Knicks fans, Sixers fans. In Philadelphia for the Flyers, it's just not going to be that way. I'd be surprised if it's like 15,000 to 5,000 Carolina fans. Like, I'd be surprised if there were even that many Carolina fans in the building tonight. It, I know it's also different because the Knicks are in New York and they can travel really easily.
yes. And
but at the
they're
same
getting priced
time,
out of their own arena. There's a bunch of
yeah,
factors that go into it. But even
sure.
like I completely agree with you here. I think that it's going to be a different atmosphere. And I think I'm hoping it's I just or yeah, that's what you said. I think it's going to be a little bit of a different atmosphere. And if you just look at the kind of facts about it, like the Flyers are in this game, but there's like they were in the series with the Penguins. There was a
Right.
rivalry aspect. There was a bunch. There was the first Flyers playoffs at home since 2018. There was a buzz, right? And don't get me wrong, this is an exciting series, but I think some of the novelty of like, wow, they're in the playoffs, like has kind of worn off. Like now they're in the playoffs. And I just did a quick search because I was curious. The get-in price for the Penguins series was $300. The get-in price for tonight is 100 for per Ticketmaster. So
Wow.
for 200s. $100 is a lot of money for a playoff
Yeah,
game. It is a
absolutely.
lot of money, period. But you can see the difference in it's not this crazy resale market that it was
Interesting.
before. And if you're coming to see this series, you know, like with the Pittsburgh series, you kind of knew that you knew the Flyers had a chance to win here. You're coming to see a really, really good hockey team and a team putting up a fight against them. And I think that that's where the difference is. You're not getting as many people who are like people that are going to these games are going to see incredible playoff hockey and it's going to be dirty and you might not leave with a win, but you're going to leave being like, wow, those two teams are like they had it. That was a good fight. And I think there's a little bit of a difference in the energy around that.
Yeah, the against the Penguins, it was like an animalistic energy.
Hmm.
I think against the Hurricanes, it's probably like you're right. It's probably more of a hockey fanatics type of energy.
Yeah.
But that's actually the six stat, by the way. Like that's awesome that you even like brought that up. That's because that really tells,
Oh, yeah.
the
Well, I was
story. Like
curious. Yeah.
that adds a whole different level to this conversation.
Hmm.
And I think that was like props to you for pulling that. Now, honestly, like that was
Ticket
sick.
prices.
That was awesome. Good
They
for
fascinate me.
that was so no, that was sick. I'm really happy you said that actually.
Yeah, I mean
Um
it's a third of the price.
yeah, which is so interesting. And I think that really does tell the story. And I don't want to skew negative, but to me, the way I read that immediately was everyone kind of just knows where this series is going. And yeah, the Flyers might win a game, but not going to win the series. So people are probably not breaking the doors in to try and get into this series.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'll be down there tonight, so we'll see. And maybe I'll tweet about, hey, like the energy is this in the building right now, and I'm going to be interested to see the difference in the energy. I might maybe I'll take a lap before the game starts and just get a real good feel. But yeah, that's weird. I just don't have a fantastic feel for this. And Carolina's been good for several years now, and they've been knocking on the door, so their fans are hungry. And I know the Lenovo Center, like that place was rocking. You could tell on the TV. I mean, they were just like some rabid core fans down there in Carolina. I don't know how they travel. And I'm not saying that we don't have rabid core fans in Philadelphia
You
because
have
we
rabid
do. And when the
fans.
Flyers are good, it's a hockey town. I just have to wonder
Yeah.
what this is going to be like. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And before we wrap up, I do want to say, like, the Flyers, it's not a reverse sweep yet, but if the Flyers end up coming back in this series, if they end up winning it, like, I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong. I think from a statistic standpoint and from a like eye test, like Carolina is a stronger team. Carolina has more experience. So that's why we're assuming based on what we've seen so far, the Flyers kick it into gear and can win this series. I'm all in. I'm just like I don't want to seem negative about it, but I feel like just based on watching these two teams, like they're kind of they're not really they were comparable the other night, but this for a full series, I'm curious to see. Also, Lewis, you better be finding a Dan Vladar shirt. Have you seen the giveaway
Oh
for tonight?
yeah, they're pretty cool
They're
actually.
pretty cool. They're
I
pretty
like them.
cool.
I hope so. In the press box, sometimes the PR staff will like give us the giveaways. So I hope that they're up there because that
Good things
it's
happen to
cool
good
shirt.
people.
Good good things happen to good people. Yeah, and I love that quote. And I was in the press conference when he said that, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Um, and so I think that was neat that they pulled that quote and they're using that for the shirt. Um, I think, just kind of in conclusion, crazier things have happened, and I've been hearing it like all week. Is that look, it's hockey. Like you don't necessarily the best team doesn't necessarily always win, and I get it, and again, if Flyers game two team shows up, yeah, I mean they could give them a series. We saw it. They took them to overtime. It is certainly possible, but I'm kind of with you. I just don't think that's. I mean, we saw it in game one. We saw game two. This will be interesting to see what they bring tonight because I think that kind of tells you what the rest of the series is going to be like.
Yeah.
Um, if they want to win the series, tonight's a must win. Don't know, how that
Regardless,
goes.
it's going to be
But
darn good hockey.
yeah, yeah, I
Everyone
think
should tune
so.
in because it's going to be darn good hockey. And regardless of how it goes, I'm excited to see it. And I'm excited to
Yeah,
hear about the energy. We have to do an energy update on Twitter
yeah,
at
for sure.
Lewis Coco, right? El
What?
Coco. What's your Twitter?
El Coco 16 one
El Coco
six
16.
COCCO 16 LCOCCO 16.
Yeah. And we showed it in the beginning of this episode, so it'll come back
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
But as always, thanks for staying tuned and following. You can find us on Spotify or YouTube, also on our website, any social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, all of the above. And Lewis, you probably got to head out soon.
yeah. I'm in media right now at my grandmother's house. Thanks, Grammy, for letting me crash. Between the morning show and the Flash game, and yeah, I probably do need to go
Yeah.
because traffic's gonna start piling up. So
Well, we'll be there, and Lewis will give you updates from the game.